Queen Nanny, or Nanny of the Maroons, was a freedom fighter, born either in Ghana to an Ashanti tribe or in Jamaica in 1686. She led a guerrilla army of Maroons against the British authorities in the early 18th century due to their violently enslaved conditions, and they liberated thousands of enslaved people. Nanny Town, a village that was founded by Queen Nanny, was used as a stronghold for training against the colonial militia. Welcome to Black British Hub, where I explore histories of the racialized peoples of Britain and the British Empire. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and keep notified. Nanny was a Maroon leader and OBEAH woman in the 17th and 18th centuries. The term OBEAH is an umbrella word for African diasporic religions in the former British colonies of the Caribbean. These religions derive from West African mythologies and traditions. Unfortunately, today, this word tends to be avoided because it is used as a pejorative. The forced Christianization of Caribbean islands is to blame for this. Anything practiced related to OBEAH is actually illegal with up to 12 months imprisonment. This is a colonial law where colonial authorities would arrest anyone on suspicion of practicing OBEAH. Even though the current government doesn't really enforce this law today, OBEAH is still looked down upon. Nanny, along with her 4 brothers, was kidnapped from an Ashanti tribe in what is modern-day Ghana. Although other sources claim she was born in Jamaica, there is not much about the history of Nanny because there is little written evidence about her. Most of the information about her comes from oral history. That doesn't mean she didn't exist. There are a few matching historical accounts where they mention a strong female figure that participated against the British in the First Maroon War. In a 1733 document, she is mentioned as a runaway named Clevie who claimed a reward for killing Nanny, the rebels' old OBEAH woman, and is mentioned twice in a 1735 document in an account by Cupid, who was an Igbo who escaped slavery. She is also mentioned in the land patent signed as part of the treaty to end the Maroon War. However, none of these documents give a descriptive account of Nanny. Fortunately, there is a lot of information on the history of Maroons. The Maroons were African-descended people who escaped slavery in the Americas and formed their own communities. In Jamaica, they established settlements in the mountainous areas. They had mainly escaped by running away from their Spanish-owned plantations when the English took over Jamaica from Spain in 1655. Some, along with the native Taínos, were even freed by their Spanish owners to fight against the English, although there was a group that switched sides to join the English. But as the English took control of Jamaica, many Africans ran away to the hills. They retreated in the mountains where they secured positions inaccessible to the English soldiers. The word maroon comes from the Spanish cimarron, and that word would be used for runaways and the shipwrecked. The first set of Maroons were the Spanish Maroons. These Maroons were only subjugated by the Spanish but never by England. The first ever settlement, or palenque as it was called at the time, was established at Uidas Valley, also called Worthy Park today, in St. Catherine Parish region, with its chief being Juan de Bolas, also known as Lubolo. Westward to that palenque lived the Varmahali Maroons, under the command of Juan de Serras. A third group was thought to be established in the region of Porus. What's interesting to note is that the group that ended up fighting for the English were led by Lubolo and continued to be loyal to the English, while the Maroons led by de Serras were loyal to the Spanish and would regularly attack English settlements, killing their soldiers and burning their plantations and property. The English responded by using one of their earliest forms of the divide and rule tactic when they paid Lubolo's Maroons to attack de Serras and his settlement. This was after Governor St. Charles Littleton, 3rd Baronet, signed the first ever Maroon Treaty to grant Lubolo and his community land on the same terms as English settlers, as a reward for allying with the English. However, this backfired in 1664 when the Serras men killed Lubolo and the militia belonging to Lubolo drifted away from historical records. The Varmahali Maroons continued their attacks on the English, that even in 1670, the government declared that no settler should travel more than 2 miles without being armed, and any settler caught trading and treating with the Varmahalis should be regarded as an accomplice. The Varmahali and poorer settlements would not last very long since there were very few women and they were always on the run. A lot of the survivors died out in the 1670s. Some fled to Cuba and some merged with a group of quote-unquote wild Negroes, possibly newly arrived African captives that escaped slavery in eastern Jamaica, that formed the group known as the Maroons. Between 1673 and 1690, a series of revolts were orchestrated. 300 enslaved people that consisted of the Akan, Ashanti and Coromantee revolted in the parish of St. Anne. On July 31st, 1690, a rebellion involving 500 enslaved people from the Sutton estate in the Clarendon parish region led many of the surviving rebels to form the Leeward Maroons in western Jamaica. While the Leeward Maroons developed into Codjoe's Town, being named after Codjoe, described as a possible brother of Nanny, who became the Leeward Maroons. The Windward Maroons developed into a town founded around 1700, which developed into Nanny Town, as Nanny emerged as one of the leaders of the Windward Maroons. Another chief of the area was another possible brother of hers named Qual. As Nanny Town was located in the Blue Mountains, it became hard for the British to assault, and the town thrived. Nanny limited her attacks on British plantations and settlements and preferred instead to farm and trade peacefully with their neighbours. There were attacks still done, many successful, and her efforts contributed to almost 1,000 slaves escaping during her lifetime. The population grew and their successes threatened the colonizers. Plantation owners were losing slaves and having their own equipment and crops burned by Maroon militias. The owners demanded the colonial authorities to do something. The colonial authorities did act, and it led to the Maroon War, presently called the First Maroon War, since there was a second one in the late 18th century. The first one began in 1728. As the colonists spread across the island, there were more hostilities. In September 1728, the British sent more troops to Jamaica, as well as a new governor, Major General Robert Hunter. As colonists spread across the island, hostilities between them and the Maroons grew. Brian Edwards, a prominent speaker for the planters and the author of Maroon Negroes, said that the primary cause of the war was that the planters and white militias became more aggressive towards the Maroons and the altercations became more violent. One of the Maroon captains under Nanny, Jeddo, led an attack in Port Antonio in 1729, and when troops under British Lieutenant Soper tried to attack back, the Maroons caught them off guard. Maroons would use powerful guerrilla tactics. Soper tried harder with larger troops against the Windward Maroons, but once again the Maroons, led by Nanny and Qual, defeated the force. In 1732, General Hunter sent 3 parties to occupy Nanny Town when the Windward Maroons relocated to the Blue Mountains. However, the occupation of Nanny Town proved to be expensive to the British, and General Hunter later allowed the Maroons to take back their town, withdrawing his militia. In 1933, Hunter sent a group of British seamen, but the Maroons also defeated them. In 1734, the Windward Maroons fought the British in Portland Parish and St. George. Enslaved Africans continued to free themselves. Hunter died and was succeeded as governor by John Ayscuff, but he also did not have much success against the Maroons. That year, the militia recaptured Nanny Town. Despite this, Nanny and the Windward Maroons kept on fighting against the British. The year after, Ayscuff died, and another official, John Gregory, took charge. But just like the former officials, none could defeat the Maroons, and funding the barracks were expensive that some planters refused to fund them, claiming that the Maroons never troubled them. Nanny was a spiritual woman who practiced OBEAH. Present-day Maroons have attributed her leadership skills to her OBEAH powers. Some believe that she had supernatural powers, and according to legend, she could catch bullets and redirect them back to whoever shot her. The Maroons were never defeated, as the British made both Maroon groups sign peace treaties in 1739 to 1740. It's not known the year Nanny died. The Journal of the Assembly Jamaica, 29 to 30th March 1733, states that a loyal slave named William Cuffey fought against the Maroons and killed Nanny, the rebels' old OBEAH woman. However, this is not possible since, according to the peace treaty, Nanny and her people were granted land, which developed into Moore Town in 1740. Others claim that Nanny died of old age in the 1760s. Queen Nanny remains the only female national hero of Jamaica, and her face is on the Jamaican $500 note. Nanny and the Windward Maroons relocated to Moore Town. Quao and the remaining Windward Maroons, under his wing, moved to what was later called Crawfordstown. Both Maroons parted ways. It was called Crawfordstown because 6 years later, after the peace treaty, a British-backed Maroon officer, Edward Crawford, took charge of the town, along with 3 white superintendents appointed by British governors. In 1756, Quao and his supporters rose up in arms and killed Crawford, as well as the 3 white superintendents. Governor Sir Charles Knowles sent a militia to negotiate with Quao, but Quao refused to negotiate and later retook control of the town. Unfortunately for him, Lieutenant Ross, who had commanded Knowles, secured the allegiance of the Maroons, which weakened Quao's position. They defeated Quao's supporters, capturing Quao and killing his officers. It's not clear what happened to Quao because he disappears from records after Crawfordstown was destroyed. Cudjoe and Leeward Maroons moved to Cudjoe's town, which was later called Trelawney Town. In the Second Maroon War, which lasted from 1795 to 1796, they would be instrumental in fighting against the British. But for now, thank you for watching this video and I hope you enjoyed it.